you for joining me for another episode of the Rediscover Health podcast. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie Lanham. I'm the owner and founder of Rediscover Health. I'm a doctor of clinical nutrition, a certified nutrition specialist, licensed dietitian nutritionist in various states across the country, as well as a national board certified health and wellness coach, where I partner with you to help you rediscover your health using food, herbs, and holistic lifestyle practices. I'm greatly appreciative of you being here and listening or watching today. And for the upcoming episodes, if you don't want to miss them, make sure you hit the subscribe button below and like this video so that we can be seen on whichever platform, seen or heard on whatever platform you're watching from. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right on into this week's topic. This week, we're going to be talking about intuitive eating. What is intuitive eating? Now, many of you are hearing about intuitive eating for the first time. This concept isn't new at all. Two registered dietitians, Evelyn Tribole and Elise Resch, wrote their first edition of intuitive eating back in 1995. This anti-diet topic for wellness has been around since the early 70s. The concept of intuitive eating has been staples for helping people recover from eating disorders and disordered eating for many, many years. Now we're blending over intuitive eating into assisting folks in healing their woes of chronic dieting, which, if you look at some of the ways that dieting impacts our lives, some suggest that it is actually considered disordered eating and or borderline eating disordered behavior. Intuitive eating is not about body size manipulation. Instead, it is a framework of self-care, and it focuses on the emotional, mental, and physical well-being of a person and their relationship with food. By becoming more attuned to your body, you can support what you need physiologically and emotionally. So I tend to use intuitive eating in my health coaching practice and with many of my nutrition clients. I do so in a program called the Heart of Eating. And it is imperative work for me to call attention to the fact that diet culture has failed so many people, including myself. I have a long history with my relationship with food, one that I'm not going to touch on in this video in particular, but we will talk about it. Long story short, I went from actually having an eating disorder to having health conditions associated with said eating behaviors, to overcoming those health conditions using food, herbs, and holistic lifestyle practices, to manipulating my body with food, herbs, and holistic lifestyle practices, being completely obsessed with the way that I looked and not the way that I felt, which drove me back into health problems. It didn't fix a thing. So this journey for me has been a long one, as I've been able to step back and really evaluate my relationship with food, my behaviors, my thoughts, my beliefs around how food can help heal. And by golly, it hasn't changed at all, except for the fact that body size manipulation and controlling the foods that we eat to manipulate our body size is detrimental to mental health, emotional health, and can be also as detrimental to our physical health and well-being. So again, we'll go into my story on another episode, but not today. But let's talk a little bit more about why I use intuitive eating in my Heart of Eating program. So the pursuit of weight loss comes to many at an unhealthy price, just like myself. It can have negative feelings of self-worth, poor body image, low life satisfaction. It creates weight stigma and fat shaming for not only ourselves, but for others. We also tend to get into weight cycling, the ups and the downs, and behaviors that align closely with disordered eating, counting calories, trying to fit into micro or macro groups, not honoring your hunger, letting yourself feel like you're starving because it doesn't fit into your diet. There's all kinds of ways that diet culture has been unhealthy for a lot of people. And the narrative continues to link obesity to chronic health conditions, which doesn't help the diet culture world at all. But researchers are continuously arguing the validity of the connection. As we continue to wage war on obesity, the rates continue to rise. We're not actually doing anything. The more diets we go on, the more our body weight increases. And this is because weight is a very multifaceted subject, and many approaches to weight loss are unsustainable for long term. Obesity is different for everyone, from genetics to social experiences to inconsistencies within the healthcare system and systemic issues. Therefore, it makes the solution not as easy as dieting likes to make it sound. Okay, a lot of people can't go on any diet to lose weight. Calorie counting, ketogenic. There's a lot of people who have adverse reactions to these, especially people in larger body sizes that may not just have obesity, can have reactions to having too much fats in their diet. And while I can preach on this subject forever, the point to be made here is that the current approach we are using with continuous failed attempts at dieting is not only not working, but also causing more problems than they solve. In fact, I often hear in my client sessions how super easy it was to lose weight at the first attempt, but then it was also super easy to gain it all back and never lose it again. At this point, many people lay blame and shame on themselves for not being good enough to maintain weight loss, and it further perpetuates poor mental health and thoughts about themselves. No one ever questions what happens internally that prevents them the weight from falling off the second time like it did before. Instead, it just must be because they're lazy, or they're not doing something right, or that diet just stopped working, so we need to go on to the next best thing. And what we need to do is we need to discuss more about the continuous weight cycling that people are experiencing with dieting may lead to poorer health outcomes than maintaining a stable weight. You may have heard me say this before, or other people. Yo-yo dieting, the ups and downs in weight, can lead to more all-cause mortality than just maintaining a stable weight. So with intuitive eating, we shift the focus away from weight and more towards our mind and body wellness. Okay. What that means is we are not approaching food to manipulate body size. We are approaching food to find stability, to rebuild trust within ourselves, and to eat for a health and wellness purpose, as opposed to losing weight. It focuses on cultivating awareness in our physical being, aligns our mind for better self-care, and allows ourselves to have more respect for ourselves and for our body, and honoring ourselves and our bodies as we are. It is an anti-diet approach to wellness. It is void of all restriction and negative self-talk. Now, when I say void of all restriction, I use that very loosely, because there are some instances with health and well-being that a person may or may not have to restrict certain foods out of their diet. And I talked a little bit about that in my last video on what is gentle nutrition. So if you are following along and you're very interested in what I mean by that, please see the last video, what is gentle nutrition? So intuitive eating also creates an attunement to your needs and teaches you how to listen and to respond to your body with compassion. Some individuals with health conditions may require certain food restrictions, as I said. So make sure that if you're interested in learning more about that, to see my last video. Who benefits from intuitive eating? Okay, everyone. Everyone can benefit from practicing intuitive eating. Bringing more mindfulness and awareness into your food routines can help you identify what foods feel best in your body. It can help you build better self-care practices and create a sense of trust within yourself. It's easy to identify when our relationship with food has gotten a little out of hand. And I'm going to give you some examples today of some folks that you want to consider. If you're listening out there, maybe it's you, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's someone else that needs to hear this information. But these are some telltale signs of individuals that may want to consider beginning their own intuitive eating journey. So let's talk about the different eating styles, okay? So first, you're a yo-yo dieter. What does that mean? So yo-yo dieters experience the on-again, off-again cycles of dieting that are accompanied by various weight loss and or weight gain measures. This tends to be more harmful to the body than staying at a steady weight. The yo-yo dieter goes on multiple diets a year, each with the intent to lose weight or to feel better for their health. But either way, find it extremely hard to maintain, or once their target weight is achieved, they pick up their old patterns again. Sometimes those old patterns aren't even the same any longer. They're eating more of the things that they've restricted out of their diet. And so because we're trying to fill that void of what restriction caused, that can lead to that increased weight gain. We also have the guilt shamers. Okay, the guilt shamers are people that immediately feel guilty or shameful after eating for their food choices because they weren't good or they weren't within their diet plan. Now, typically these feelings of failure result in increased eating of those bad foods because, well, I ruined the diet, might as well, right? So these habits perpetuate further feelings of guilt and shame and increase emotional eating. The vicious cycle appears to be impossible to escape from. And this style of eating tends to lead to feelings of low self-worth, feelings of failure, and we just keep on going. The wagon faller offers. I love to say that because you hear it all of the time. Everything was going great until I fell off the wagon. Well, does that sound familiar? I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone said it at least once in their lives, and it doesn't even have to pertain to dieting and food. I mean, we do it all the time. We go to the gym, we're working out, and then we fell off the wagon and we never came back. So if it was going so great for you, why did you fall off the wagon? Okay, well, probably because life happens, but also because even if life happens, we tend to fall off that wagon and not get back on because that wagon wasn't meant for us to begin with. Okay. Why does it feel impossible to get remotivated to get back on that wagon? And you know what kind of wagon was it? All right. Was it one of the ones with the 4 big old wheels, the spokes? I'm just kidding. Anyways, this eating style contributes again to the poor mindset and can eventually cause someone to feel like they're just not worthy of their health goals and they give up entirely. When we feel like we fail at something, we must have done something wrong. So why bother trying to do it again? The problem here is this type of failure mindset may start with a diet or a health routine, but it bleeds over into every aspect of your life. If you failed here and you don't start again, or you're not worthy of starting again, or you can't do it, if you go to work and you fail at something at work, what happens? Do you get up and try again? Or do you just say, oh, I'm a failure and what's the point? Why bother? So this continuous relationship that we have feeling like we're failing when we fall off the wagon will bleed over into other aspects of our lives. And again, contributing to the low self-worth and the inability to feel like we can accomplish our goals. And we have the bingers. Your diet menu is fully planned. You wake up, you have 2 boiled eggs for breakfast, and you don't have any snacks in between breakfast and lunch. And you're just kind of hungry, but you know, that's okay. You're doing really good for yourself. You have a salad, you got your lettuce, you got your tomatoes, you got your cucumber, a little bit of dressing, extra veggies, you know. And by dinner time, you are starving. But that's okay because we've already pre-planned our chicken and broccoli. We got a little chicken, we got a little broccoli, we got a little rice. And all seems well until the kids go to bed. And then it's game on in the kitchen cabinets. Cookies, cakes, cheese out of the fridge, whatever. You've been craving these foods all day long. You've restricted them from your diet. And it's been the only thing that you can think about, especially when you watch your coworker eat their delicious meals that they have. It looks far more appealing than your lettuce and cucumbers. So bingers is not to be confused here with binge eating disorder, but bingers eating style is kind of like an overcompensation for what you wanted, could have had, restricted from your diet until you lost willpower, which led to overeating because you felt deprived for the entire day. So this style of eating, once you lose that willpower, again, we start the failure mindset, we start the guilt shame cycle, and we go from there. Then we have the diet starts Monday crew. Yes, our diet will start on Monday. We're going to go ahead and put our early restriction on ourselves. We feel a little anxious about it because, we know that we're giving up a lot of the things that we love to eat. No more carbs, no more this, no more that. Therefore, as we prepare for Monday diet, Friday through Sunday is open menu, and we eat everything. Like, might as well get it out of the house, because if I'm around it next week while I'm on my diet, I don't trust myself to be around these foods. I'm going to eat them. So I have to eat them all weekend long. It's like the Last Supper. You have your Last Supper before you're not allowed to have these foods anymore. So by Monday, we feel sluggish and we feel bloated. And then we start feeling guilty and shameful because we just ate everything in our kitchen to prepare for this diet. And we find it really hard to muster up the energy to go on the diet after all. Or this goes two ways. We start on Monday as we planned accordingly until life happens again on Wednesday. We either have a hard day at work, we have some emotional things come up, we didn't plan that far in advance, our menu didn't last as long as we thought it would, and we fall off the wagon and start all over until we say, okay, we're going to go on another diet on Monday. Yeah. I feel this one because I've been there, done that on this one. And we just continue that failure, guilt, shame cycle, and we continue to emotionally eat or embark on another last summer feast until we start that new diet. And again, it's a never-ending cycle. Then let's talk about emotional eating while we're here, because this style of eating does look similar to the guilt shamers, but can extend beyond just feelings of unworthy in our bodies. So high stress day at work, whole box of Girl Scout cookies. Argument with a family member, entire pint of ice cream. Any uncomfortable emotion that we feel triggers eating mindlessly. So emotional eating is not a bad thing per se, and I'm not here to say that no one should ever emotionally eat. However, what other tools do you have in your tool belt to help you balance your emotions or work through your emotions that you may be avoiding feeling, which you try to fill that void using food? That's a whole topic. So stress eating is something that I love to talk about, and we're going to do a whole second video on just emotional eating next week. But optimizing self-care practices can help us find balance and moderation in how we can avoid using food to cope with those unwanted emotions. Learning to incorporate intuitive eating in your life begins with deciding that enough's enough. It's time to step out of the same old diet routines that control our lives and learn to embrace a new way of thinking about health and wellness. Before you begin your intuitive eating journey, you must first have an open mind and be willing to let go of all of the previous tools you use to keep you trapped in diet cycles. Intuitive Eating Principles, the workbook by Tribole and Resch, outline 10 principles that help you reconnect with your body and break up with dieting once and for all. Side note, if you're interested in picking up your copy of the Intuitive Eating Principles workbook, you can see the link below in the show notes. And just as a disclaimer, I make a couple pennies off of it. it's just enough to help me cover the time that it takes here to record these videos and get this information out to you. So anyways, back to intuitive eating principles. These steps include learning to honor your hunger and your fullness while eating for satisfaction and self-care. Deconstruct the diet mentality that keeps us feeling trapped, while rebuilding more interoceptive awareness, setting boundaries, and learning to respect your body. This journey includes bringing more self-compassion into your life, learning how to cope with your emotions, and expanding your tools and resources to help you find balance in your eating. So no more yo-yo dieting, no more guilt shame cycles, no more falling off the wagon. After working through all of the principles, you will then be equipped to discern how food feels in your body from an intuitive place and trust yourself to make the food decisions that honor your food-body harmony goals. And as we talked about food-body harmony in the last video, gentle nutrition is the last topic that we discussed in intuitive eating, because we want to fully dismantle diet logic before incorporating more nutrition science so that it doesn't become just another diet. Again, intuitive eating aligns with health at every size and is not used for intentional weight loss. And we'll talk more about that in upcoming episodes. So some final thoughts. We know that what we've been doing in the diet world isn't working. It just isn't. Something has to give, because more and more people are feeling trapped within these diet cycles and they're not actually accomplishing any of their health goals. As a matter of fact, they're driving a bigger disconnect between themselves and their bodies, and they're raging war on their body when in fact we need to learn to work together. As you can see from the various types of eating and eating styles, dieting contributes to this disharmony and this distrust. With intuitive eating, we can create peace and balance once and for all. We can learn to love ourselves, to eat with purpose and harmony, to enjoy our lives, and to live healthfully at the same time. That is the true definition of holistic health, taking care of our mind, our body, and our spirit. Intuitive eating is just one aspect we practice in my Heart of Eating program. And if you're interested in learning more about breaking up with the diet cycle, listening to your body, practicing self-compassion, and becoming an intuitive eater, you can book your free discovery call session on my website for one of my nutrition coaching packages, and the link is going to be in the show notes. So again, thank you guys for listening to a little bit more about intuitive eating and the different styles of eating that keep us trapped in diet cycle. I sure hope that you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to know more information, make sure you hit the subscribe, the like button, share with your friends. If anyone falls into those eating style categories, they can really benefit from hearing this information. Please stay tuned for our next episode, where we're going to be talking about emotional and stress eating. And until next time, healthy blessings. Bye, y'all.